Are you sure?
Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never ask a bride why she's getting married. Don't wear a skirt on a windy day. Deodorant is not a shower. Don't sniff chili flakes. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
As the results of this election had come out and it became evident that BJP was falling short of a majority, we had foreseen three things. I avoid saying predicting. We had predicted three things because prediction sounds presumptuous. So I would say that we had foreseen three things. That's what commentators, that's what analysts can do. What were these three things? Number one, that we are heading again to an era of contentious politics. Before 2014, politics was very contentious and there were little mutinies breaking out all over the place all the time. Second thing we had said was that we are headed for a spicy parliament again. That the last 5 years, last 10 years in general, but last 5 years in particular, that is the 17th Lok Sabha in particular, was really a very uneventful kind of non-spicy, I would say, very bland parliament for the simple reason that the opposition was mostly either suspended or they walked out, or sometimes they were muted, and speaker was very tough. In fact, at one point, two houses together, 146 MPs had been suspended, and that is when some of the most important legislations, including the three radically changing the British era criminal laws, that is IPC, Indian Penal Code, CRPC, Code of Criminal Procedure, and Indian Evidence Act. The new laws were brought in a parliament almost with unanimity, voice vote, total majority, when the opposition was not there, without any discussion, without needing to send these new laws to any parliamentary committee. So we had said that from now on, the second point was, first was politics will be contentious. The second point was that parliament henceforth will be spicy. And the third thing that we had foreseen was that from now on, decision making will be complicated. It will not be as simple as it had been in the previous 10 years, particularly in the previous 5. And I will give you an example of that because there are very early signs of how complicated this would get or how it could get complicated. However, right now our focus is more on Parliament because 18th Lok Sabha is having its first session. The first session, as you know, is when new MPs are sworn in. They come in, they also make their moves in terms of making their respective points to their electorate, and also the larger political points. Rahul Gandhi, for example, holding up copy of the constitution, right? An MP in Maharashtra who had been mocked, an MP from Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena who had been mocked for not knowing English, actually taking by his rival, that he doesn't know any English. If he knows any English, I will give up politics. That MP coming and taking his oath in English. On top of everything, Asaduddin Owaisi saying Jai Philistine and forgetting to say Jai Hind. So all these things become stories. All these are statements that MPs have made in their swearing in. That itself is also a sign of a spicier parliament, simply because there are more people, more MPs in parliament who are not bound by the iron discipline of one dominant political party. And that diversity is now showing up, but that is only the gentlest end of the new spiciness. More will come up, and some more has come up over the choice of the speaker. Now, why this maramari over the speaker? If you're saying speaker is non-partisan by definition, speaker doesn't belong to any party, speaker can't give anybody a contract, the speaker can't give anybody a highway, the speaker has no real power in that sense. So why is the speaker so important? That's because, particularly in contested politics, the speaker has discretionary powers over many things. For example, one of the methods that Modi government has followed since 2014 is to bring in contentious bills over which it may not have a Rajya Sabha majority to secure passage, to bring them in as money bills. So if a bill is passed by the lower house, by Lok Sabha, as a money bill, then Rajya Sabha can ask for a review, send it back, but Rajya Sabha can't hold it. So Lok Sabha is good enough. That decision on what is a money bill, whether a particular bill is a money bill or not, that discretion lies with the speaker. The previous parliaments, for example, through the budget, the electoral bonds, rules and amendments to so many laws, from Income Tax Act to Representation of People Act to Companies Act, all of these were brought in through the budget, which was a money bill. And now that call is taken by the speaker. Second, if there are defections, if MPs go from one side to the other, the call on who's a defector, who's not a defector, what action will be taken, that call lies with the speaker. And that leads up to the larger question, because when there is defection, there is also disqualification. So disqualification of MPs. For example, Mahua Moitra, it wasn't even a case of defection. But when such cases come up, there is enormous discretion with the speaker, either to do it himself or set up a committee, and you can load a committee and get this done. So it is for all of these many reasons that the speaker's position is powerful. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary of the Congress party had it, but there were so many of these, and many of these changes were made in 2022. That is a fair way into the 17th Lok Sabha, because probably the BJP was presuming that next Lok Sabha also they were going to have a big majority. So let everybody get used to parliamentary committees also being run by the ruling party MPs. Parliamentary Standing Committee on Home, Abhishek Manu Singhvi of Congress party was replaced by a BJP MP. Information Technology, Shashi Tharoor was replaced by Pratap Rao Jadhav of Shiv Sena. Now Shiv Sena Shinde, he's a minister now. Food and Consumer Affairs, TMC had it. That was Food and Consumer Affairs. TMC had it. That MP was replaced by a BJP MP. And first of all, we saw a contest as an argument, not an election, over the choice of the pro-tem speaker. Pro-tem speaker presides over the House until a regular speaker is chosen. Usually you would expect that the qualification of the MP chosen to do this job would be experience, and it's a non-partisan job, so it's not necessarily reserved for somebody from the ruling party. Again, the convention is that the senior most MP, irrespective of the party, senior most means the MP who has had the maximum terms in parliament, is chosen as pro-tem speaker. It's just a 2-3 day thing, right? It's a temporary glory, if at all it's a glory. Nothing else. There, the Congress came up with the suggestion of K. Suresh, who is an 8-term Lok Sabha MP. He's a Dalit leader. He's an 8-term Lok Sabha MP, and the Congress and the opposition thought that he was a shoo-in. It was a symbolic thing after all. He should be the pro-tem speaker. The BJP, on the other hand, said, no, he's not the one, but Bhartruhari Mehta, who's also a nice guy, generally non-controversial, quite gentle, but they said he should be the pro-tem speaker. So even pro-tem speaker became now contested. The argument that the BJP had was that Mehta has more consecutive terms as MP, whereas K. Suresh's 8 terms, he's had one more term than Mehta, but his terms are broken with a term not in parliament. So that became an excuse, and you can see that at this point, no quarter is given by any side to the other, because the BJP also knows in the previous parliament, in the 17th Lok Sabha, the BJP saw no need to give anything to the opposition. And I will give you some examples of what they did by way of changing the composition of the parliamentary committees and changing the convention, because convention is not binding on anybody. In this parliament, the BJP does not have the luxury of one-sidedness that they had in the 17th one. So in the 18th, at the same time, they are playing hardball. So they said, no, we will deny pro-tem speaker also, just a 3-day pro-tem speaker who has no power, can do nothing except conduct the proceedings to the opposition, because they are not willing to give anything to the opposition at all, because they know that this is going to be quite a tussle going ahead from now on until the end of these 5 years. The second thing that came up, as we all know, is the election of the speaker. Once again, conventionally in India, speaker is not elected, because it is generally presumed that when an MP becomes the speaker, that MP ceases to be a political person. That MP then is non-partisan. So usually party with the majority has its speaker, and also the convention is that there is a deputy speaker's position. Article 93 of our constitution says that there will be a speaker and a deputy speaker, right? It's very clear. So constitution mandates that there will be a speaker and a deputy speaker, and the speaker is usually from the ruling party or from a party aligned with the ruling party. For example, in the Vajpayee government, initially GMC Balayogi of Telugu Desam party, he was appointed speaker, not from the BJP, but from the ruling coalition, right? But at the same time, for deputy speaker, somebody from the opposition was chosen. And I will give you some names as we go along. Now, what did the BJP do in the 17th Lok Sabha? 17th Lok Sabha, because the BJP really had no effective opposition in the House. The BJP said, all right, the constitution says there shall be a speaker and a deputy speaker. But the constitution doesn't say by when there will be a speaker and a deputy speaker. Or the speaker will decide when a deputy speaker is to be appointed and names have to be called. They left it to the speaker, and the speaker chose not to take that decision. Not today, not tomorrow, not for 1 week, not for 3 weeks, not for this parliament session, not for next parliament session, not for next parliament session or next parliament session, not to take any decision for 5 years. So for the first time in India's constitutional and parliamentary history, India did not have a deputy speaker in Lok Sabha. Now that is, you might say, it's a violation of the constitution. The other side could argue the constitution says there will be a deputy speaker, but it doesn't say when there will be a deputy speaker, so we can take our time. It doesn't say that you have to have a deputy speaker by the first session of Lok Sabha. So we waited. The BJP also said that the speaker himself has a panel of 9 senior MPs who can sit presiding over the House when the speaker is not present. So if those 9 are present, why should there be a deputy speaker? Why should a deputy speaker be needed? So was it going to be a cost-cutting step? We don't know, because the constitution doesn't say that you can save that cost by not having a deputy speaker. Right now, that has also become a tussle. So we know the tussle over the speaker. This BJP has come up with its own name, the NDA, that is Om Birla, the earlier speaker. The opposition would have let it go without a contest. But they wanted a commitment on the office of the deputy speaker being revived, and ideally, as the convention has been, of this being offered to the opposition. That's a question on which both sides are complaining of apply, no reply. The Congress party is saying that Rajnath Singh called Mallikarjun Kharge on the BJP side, who said he will get back, he never got back. The BJP is saying that Rajnath Singh called Mallikarjun Kharge, and Mallikarjun Kharge apparently told him to speak with KC Venugopal, but this has not gone forward. So there is a deadlock there. In the process, because there is no agreement on deputy speaker, the BJP right now, not only have they not accepted the opposition's idea that they go back to the convention that had been held since 1952. One, that there will be a deputy speaker, which is a constitutional requirement. And second, that the deputy speaker will be from the opposition. So first of all, they have not even yet committed that the constitutional requirement of a deputy speaker will be met this time. That's why the opposition has also decided that the speaker's position will now be contested. There will be a vote. Now, this is something that's only happened twice so far in India's history. The first time was in 1952. 1952, this was India's first parliament. Everybody was learning to be an MP, although India had had some parliamentary practice from early on. Before 1952, India had a parliament, a provisional parliament. There was a speaker in that parliament from 1946 onwards, G.V. Mavlankar. He was Congress party's candidate for speaker in 1952, but that did not go uncontested. So from Peasants and Workers Party, that is PWP, Shankar Shantaram More, he contested against G.V. Mavlankar. A voting was held. Mavlankar won 394 to 55. It's widely believed that in that election, falling in the good parliamentary friendly spirit, in the spirit of a friendly fight. The second contest was more interesting. The second contest, in fact, even when I saw the reference, I got a little bit surprised because the second contest took place in 1976, early 1976. So why 1976? That was the peak of the emergency. First of all, why would Mrs. Gandhi change her speaker at the peak of the emergency? And second, even if she were to have another speaker in parliament, who would be there to contest against her candidate? Because most of the opposition she had already put in jail. And it's interesting that we are recording this on the 49th anniversary of the emergency. In fact, we are now beginning the 50th year of the emergency. So how come only the second time there was a contest for the position of speaker in Indian political history was during the emergency? That is because in December 1975, that is 1st of December 1975, Gurdial Singh Dhillon, who was then the speaker, he resigned as speaker and he became a cabinet minister. He became the cabinet minister for shipping and transport. So speaker's position fell vacant. Mrs. Gandhi would have thought, I'll give it to anybody, right? So she named Baliram Bhagat from Samastipur in Bihar. He was a well-known senior MP from Bihar. He's the one she named as her candidate, her party's candidate for speaker. But lo and behold, somebody decided to contest it. And who contested it? This was Jagannath Rao Joshi of the Bharatiya Jan Sangh. And he was then jailed, like most members of the Bharatiya Jan Sangh and many leaders of the RSS also, and most other opposition leaders. So he decided to contest from jail. This was Bharatiya Jan Sangh's and opposition's way of reminding the people of India that they exist, and also to be an act of defiance to Mrs. Gandhi, that just because you have given yourselves dictatorial powers with the emergency, not all actions that you take will go unchallenged. So this action was unchallenged. In the first election, 1952, G.V. Mavalankar versus Shankar Shantaram More, the score was 394 for Congress or Mavalankar and 55 for Shankar Shantaram More. In this election in 1976, the score was 344 for the Congress party's candidate, that is Baliram Bhagat, and 58 for the opposition candidate, that was Jagannath Rao Joshi. He was in fact then an MP from Shahjahanpur, which is somewhere close to Devas and Indore, that area. So these were the two elections in our history in different contexts. One, a very friendly one, basically to make the point that there is a democracy, and in a democracy, opposition and treasury benches must contest everything. And second, as an act of defiance by a mostly jailed opposition to say, ek to hum bhi hain yahan pe, we are also there, don't count us out. And second, to say not all your actions will go unchallenged. So wherever we can challenge your actions, we shall do so, however symbolic it might be. That was from a Bharatiya Jan Sangh MP, and Bharatiya Jan Sangh, as we know, is the parent of Bharatiya Janata Party. Then see what's happened in recent times by way of convention. UPA came to power in 2004. The speaker was not from one of the involved active constituents of the UPA. The speaker was taken from the left, from CPM, Somnath Chatterjee. The left was supporting the UPA, but from outside. They were not in the government. So Somnath Chatterjee was a speaker, much respected by all sides. His deputy then was Charanjit Singh Atwal, of which party? Of the Akali Dal. Akali Dal, Shiromani Akali Dal then was a partner with the BJP. 2009 on, Meera Kumar became the speaker, and again the deputy speaker now was Kariya Munda of the BJP. So the convention of deputy speaker being from the opposition party was maintained. Between 2014 and 19, in the 16th Lok Sabha, the first Lok Sabha in which BJP came with a majority under Narendra Modi, again this convention was maintained, and there was a deputy speaker, and the deputy speaker was M. Thambidurai, AIA-DMK. Now, AIA-DMK was not really in the BJP coalition. It wasn't exactly an opposition party either, but it was at least not from the ruling party or the ruling coalition. So the pretense was kept. In fact, if you're talking about convention and how these pretenses are kept, I can take you backwards. Between 1998 and 99, Vajpayee government, the first Vajpayee government, and 1999 to 2004. The second Vajpayee government, NDA government, the deputy speaker was from the opposition. It was PM Saeed, the Congress MP from Lakshadweep. He was a deputy speaker through these two governments between 1998 and 2004. Even when we go backwards, 1989 to 1991, I'm confining myself to a period until say about 1984 because those are names that might still be familiar to most of us. 1989 to 1991, we had two prime ministers. We had VP Singh and Chandrasekhar. The first coalition under VP Singh was supported by the BJP and left from outside. The second coalition, a short-lasting one, under Chandrasekhar was supported by Congress party from outside, but Congress party was not a member of the coalition. It was not in the government. In that period, 89 to 91, Shivraj Patil of the Congress was the deputy speaker. So that is the convention. What happens when a party comes with a brute majority? Nobody has had a bruter majority than Rajiv Gandhi had in 1984. 415 in a house then of about 527 or 528, if my memory serves me right. So 1984 to 89, of course, Rajiv Gandhi had his own speaker, maybe one of the most respected and adored speaker in India. Also, somebody who had a very long tenure across governments. That is Balram Jakhar. In fact, Balram Jakhar is the only speaker as yet to have got 2 terms and to have completed 2 full terms. And Om Birla, if he gets elected, as is likely, then he'll only be the second speaker in our history to get 2 terms. But the deputy speaker was who? Again, a name we just became familiar with. M. Thambidurai, who also became deputy speaker in the first Modi government, 2014 to 19. So this is a convention that's been maintained. 17th Lok Sabha was the first in which there was no deputy speaker. Then BJP had a brute majority, maybe they could do whatever, but today, are they still going to go on without a deputy speaker? They will be challenged. Will they then brazen it out and not have a deputy speaker? And even if they are forced to have a deputy speaker, then toss this convention and call for an election for the speaker? We will see. But we never promised you that peace is about to break out in New Delhi or in Lutyens Delhi or in Parliament. We only promised you that politics will get sharply contested and Parliament very spicy, which is what we are seeing right now. Now, this is a short session. It will be over on the 3rd, but after the swearing and etc. is done and the speaker's election is done, there will still be some time. And chances are, because this will be spicy, opposition already will start making noise about their demand for a JPC inquiry into post-exit polls, stock market fluctuations, because they've been alleging that there was a racket there. Somebody knew about the exit polls, knowing that once the exit polls come, markets will go up. So somebody could have bought shares earlier and sold when the markets peaked, etc. Right? So that is an inquiry that the opposition wants. They also will make noise about a couple of other things that government doesn't want to talk about. The NEET leak and all the other examination leaks. The government is already in the defensive on all of that. One thing I would say for strongman governments never accept that something has gone wrong anywhere. And the strongman governments always distance themselves from every disaster, any disaster. So they'll never say anything's gone wrong. So they also don't see the need to punish anybody, because punishing anybody or calling anybody to account or holding anybody responsible means admitting that something wrong happened under your watch. Now this time, for the first time, I would say, since the rise of Narendra Modi with full majority governments in 2014, the government has, after denying that examination leaks had taken place, particularly with NEET, has removed the head of NTA, National Testing Agency, which itself is an admission that some things have gone wrong. Inquiries have been ordered, in some cases retest, etc. have been ordered, and many other tests which are going to take place for other recruitments, those have been cancelled. This is an indication, and I would say the first such indication, that this is no longer a strongman government which can afford to railroad its way through every failure or everything that goes wrong. And that is what gives an opening to the opposition. Remember, we said politics will be contested, Parliament will be spicy, and decision making now onwards will not be as simple as was the case in the past. Once again, we've seen already that the Congress party has raised the temperature. They are making protests over the ongoing project in Car Nicobar Islands to develop a big naval base and other development activity. I won't be surprised if some of them go to court. They make noises in parliament. They raise the issue there, and also there can be some protests on the ground as well.